So I have not had my voice back completely yet. So, which my husband's like, that's nice.
Yeah.
My family's like,
Silver lining.
It's a break.
Yeah.
Oh.
Live from Venture Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
All right. So happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And welcome Lathan to the show. JP's traveling, so Lathan is guest co-hosting with us. And of course, he is a familiar face to the crew. Lathan from First Liberty. Now, the first part of the show, the first segment, before we have one of our Forever Miss Texas is on, Caroline Carruthers, who was our very first Miss Texas that we welcomed to JP, Kathy, and the crew. We'll have her on from 8:15 to 8:30, but I would say 8:30, you're off the record. You're Lathan
right.
Unplugged. There you go. Is that a thing?
Forewarned.
Yes. So disclaimer, he will not be speaking on behalf of the company he works for,
exactly.
the nonprofit he works for. But happy Friday to the crew. Glad to have you join us. We have a fun day planned today. Lots to talk about. My goodness, we could fill 3 hours up. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Before the show, Lathan and I were talking about this, and this will kind of lead into some of our discussions a little bit later. With you hear the increase, like with Black Lives Matter, and with people talking about racism with Black people, with Asian people. I was telling Lathan that I have joined. Even though I'm not Jewish, but I'm always looking to learn about other religions, other, people from other walks of life, especially in the religious arena. And so had joined several groups when Holocaust discussions were going on. And I've noticed lately, and I asked you if it was just me because I'm becoming more aware, or is it getting worse? And that is anti-Semitism in our country. I'm seeing that on the rise as well. And I'm like I told you before the show, why does everybody just say nice things to each other? And if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But we're just not there.
Unfortunately, no. It seems like it is on the rise again, or maybe we're just more aware of it now. But First Liberty, we represent people of all faiths all over the country. Anywhere people are just trying to live according to what they believe, keeping with the law and the Constitution, we'll defend your right to do so. So we have... Right now, we've got quite a few Orthodox Jewish clients. We just won an issue down in Houston where you had a small Orthodox Jewish community that lived in the same neighborhood, and they basically purchased a home in that neighborhood to use as their worship space. Houston, as you know, has no zoning at all. Okay,
when you drive in, you can see that. It's like, here's a little neighborhood. Oh, here's a factory with a 9,000-foot smokestack. There's no right, and there's some restaurants.
Yeah,
there's
right
no
next
rhyme
to each
or
other.
reason.
So now the home, if I remember correctly, is in a neighborhood that has a homeowners association, which has some kind of restrictive covenants or whatever. But the HOA. Which is sort of the exception that proves the rule. The HOA was they were totally fine with whatever they were doing. They weren't really making an issue.
Okay.
Apparently someone complained to the city, and then the city was basically trying to enforce the HOA's restrictive covenants against the Orthodox Jewish community and using this home for a worship space.
Okay.
And so we worked with our volunteer attorney network with some volunteer attorneys down in Houston and our legal team, and basically let the city know we were getting ready to file a federal lawsuit, and we were able to get to the table with the city and sort of resolve this. And the city's like, okay, yeah,
they didn't want to take
cool
it. They didn't want to take it to that level.
Exactly, and sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it's just the potential of litigation and all that. But we were happy to get that win for them so they can continue worshiping and using that home for to gather to study the Bible or whatever they want to
Right.
do. And that's the thing. Like, if it's this is a very small Orthodox Jewish community in this neighborhood.
Right.
I guarantee you, on any given weekend or maybe even weeknight, somebody in that neighborhood has 10, 15, 20 people over either doing a Bible study or a board game night or whatever you want to do.
And that was kind of my thought.
Yeah.
Don't you have, I mean, they could have, it could be a poker night.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And that may be more of a problem because I don't think in an Orthodox Jewish religious study of any sort, you're going to have people drinking, busting out on beer and wine and shots.
Exactly.
Poker night, you might.
Exactly. And so, that's really, under the First Amendment, that's really the government's obligation is to be neutral towards religion.
Right.
You can't treat it better, but you can't treat it worse. So if you have a similarly, I need more coffee, situated secular organization,
Right.
you have to treat religion the same way you treat them.
Right.
And so if you're going to allow, and as you should, people to get together and have a Bible study or have a poker game or whatever you want to do, and they've got 10 or 15 people there, you can't tell this Orthodox Jewish community, well, but you can't do that in this home that you have purchased for this purpose.
Exactly.
So thankfully we actually got that. So
that is a big win because
is.
That's something you can use as precedence in any neighborhood anywhere in the country.
Right. I mean, and it also sort of represents progress because we had almost this exact issue in Dallas that took almost 2 years to get resolved.
I remember that.
And this thing in Houston, was over in 2 weeks. So maybe
it wasn't
the word's
like a
getting
parking
out.
thing, and there was like a whole lot of craziness to that one.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite big dumb government stories.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the situation in Houston, very similar. Orthodox Jewish community lives in that neighborhood. We're meeting in the rabbi's home for worship, and that initially was the HOA that came after him, and we ended up having to sue the HOA, and then they got the city involved, and then we ended up having to sue the city. We were finally able to get it all worked out, and of course, they were making all sorts of claims as to what their problem with this was, and it has it has nothing to do with
the religion itself
with
or worshiping or anything.
To which then we popped up pictures of the swastika somebody spray painted on the rabbi's car when they vandalized his house.
That.
So
and there's that.
But we finally were able to get that resolved so that they can continue meeting in that rabbi's home. And I kid you not, the last big hurdle for the city of Dallas was whether or not they had enough parking spaces outside this guy's house. They're Orthodox Jews.
I was like, you can't
they don't drive on the Sabbath.
I know.
They walk.
There are no cars involved on that day.
Yeah, that's why that's why they live in the neighborhood, so that they're within walking distance of where they have to go on the Sabbath.
Right.
So thankfully, I think there was a school like right across the road. The rabbi worked out a shared parking agreement to satisfy the
a shared parking agreement for the no cars
for the people who aren't driving.
Yes,
on the
for
Sabbath.
the zero cars that are parking that day.
So there's your tax dollars at work, Dallas. They're really holding it down.
Keep electing those liberals. Good times.
And that was the first thing that I thought of when I heard about the case down in Houston. I was like, in a city that big, how many complaints get called into the city every day? And this is what the city of Houston decides to focus on? Like, have you driven in Houston lately? Maybe fix a pothole or two.
I was going to say, and that is like the worst traffic. Driving in Houston is a nightmare. You think it's bad. You think Austin's bad until you go to Houston and you're reminded of just how bad traffic and driving and road conditions
can always be worse.
So yeah,
Murphy's Law.
Yes, definitely. Well, so any updates on any of your other cases?
So
and we always want to hear about the coach too.
Yeah,
still proceeding.
Yep.
Okay.
The Ninth Circuit ruled against him as expected. So now we're preparing our appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. And once that's ready, we'll file that with the Supreme Court, and then we'll just have to wait and see if they take it. We're sort of cautiously optimistic that they will, considering what they did the last time that we went all the way up to the Supreme Court. So kind of in a holding pattern for him right now. What else? We've got we're still we represent Canaan Baptist Church in Duncanville, where the city was going to use eminent domain to take some of the church's property to put a fire station.
I had not heard about this. Okay.
Yeah, even though they already have a fire station right across the road from the church, and there's other property in town that they could use if they were going to expand this. We have basically all we're waiting on there is for the city to withdraw their petition as far as eminent domain. So,
that
don't want to jinx it. So
but
that should be resolved here shortly. And that, it just sort of demonstrates how when we protect a house of worship, it protects all houses of worship. Right. So the situation in Houston is a Jewish community. Situation in Dallas is a Christian community, but the principle is the same. Right. They own the property. They have the right to use it for religious purposes.
Right.
There's a federal statute, the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act.
Yep.
Say that 3 times fast. Yeah. And so sometimes you just have to kind of educate the city on things like this. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding of what the law is or what it requires.
And sometimes it's, what I like about your organization is, yes, we've got these major cases that end up being landmark cases that can forever change religious liberty for the better or for the worse.
Right.
But a lot of times you do work it out with the city or the county or the state with it, which it's in. And you take care of it ahead of time, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about going to trial, and and that's now in Dallas. That was such a crazy case because how much money was spent with the city of Dallas for that case?
Who knows?
Tons, and it's all taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all money that could go towards helping the homeless and all that. Yeah. So anyway, y'all try to approach it from an educational standpoint.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
We try to assume the best, in our opponents.
Yes.
That maybe it is that they just don't understand what the law requires on this topic or whatever, and it's also sort of part of our strategy and how we do. We don't have sort of a set playbook that we go in and run every time.
Yeah.
If we can resolve something without going to court, we will.
Right.
Because we realize we could just come in scorched earth and just sue everybody all the time, and drag them through the mud and the press and all of this. But once we move on to the next case, our client still has to live there. Yeah. They're still a part of that community. So if we can resolve it amicably,
absolutely,
that is always our goal.
That's huge.
The ultimate goal is win for the client.
Yeah.
However that client defines victory, that's our number one goal.
Right.
But we also have to keep in mind, as I said, once we move on, that client's still living there.
Right.
And they're still, so we try to do things as resolve them in whatever way that we can, and if we can do it without going to court, we will.
Yeah.
Now sometimes the other side, some people just insist on learning things the hard way.
Yeah.
And it's not up to us if they're just.
It is what it is.
This is the only thing.
You've got to go fight the good fight.
This is what we got to do, and then we'll go to court, and if we win in court, and like you said before, then we have the chance to sort of establish a precedent.
Right.
And that protects even more people than just the client.
Right.
The client's always the primary. Our primary responsibility, but in some cases, like Coach Kennedy or Aaron and Melissa Klein or some others, they understand that after a certain point, especially once you get up in sort of the appellate level of courts where you're setting a precedent that applies in a very large area.
Absolutely.
The win is actually bigger than them.
Yes.
And they understand that. That's why they put up with 5, 6, 7 years of litigation, to go
because
through all this.
Again, you are setting that precedence for the future. And and I know we're getting ready to get Caroline on, but it does. It's again, and those who don't believe, and sometimes I've got to ask you, there's some documentary called Hail Satan. My husband and I watch tons of documentaries. There's some, and we were like, what the heck? We didn't watch it because I was like, that's too much evil in that for me. But I guess there was some courthouse somewhere where they were able to put up a statue because the 10 Commandments were up. And so I've got to ask you about that sometime. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so that's stay tuned. That's for another show when we have Lathan on.
We're actually defending a 10 Commandments monument on the state capitol grounds in Arkansas.
And
that was part of one of the plaintiffs is the Satanic Temple.
And I could tell. I was gonna mention Arkansas was part of some kind of something. Anyways, so there you go. Good times. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment.
No, it's never boring.
Well, we've got one of our Forever Miss Texas winners on. Do we have Caroline Crothers?
Hello.
Hey, how are you? There's her beautiful face. All right.
How are you?
Doing well. It's so great to see you. And of course, I love keeping up with you on social media, and just you've got so many great things going on. But I want to mention, can we get her face up on the screen instead? Lathan's good looking, but Caroline's even better.
Depends on who's looking.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, Caroline, you were the first. Now, Susan Schuler, who's probably watching, and Susan, we love you. She came to JP and I several years ago and said, why don't would y'all be interested in having, when the new Miss Texas is crowned every June, would y'all be interested in being the first radio interview for Miss Texas? And we're like, oh my goodness, absolutely. And then this turned in because Caroline was our very first Miss Texas that we interviewed on our show, and it turned into such a great relationship. And then that has gone on to last, all the way through Chandler. And then heck, we've got just right around the corner a new Miss Texas finally after 2 years being crowned. So Caroline, welcome to the show. Let's talk about when you were Miss Texas, and oh, and by the way, Sikkim, because the Baylor Bears men's, I know you were happy about that. You were a twirler for Baylor. So congratulations. My husband's an alum, so we've got Baylor stuff all over the place. I think he just got 3 T-shirts and 2 ball caps in the mail the other day that all say champs real big, But tell us what year you were Miss Texas and what you've been doing since then and what's going on with you.
Yes, absolutely. It's so hard to believe now that my crowning moment for Miss Texas is coming up on 5 years ago. It definitely does not seem like it's been that long. It feels
Gosh, are you? That'll be 5 years. That is crazy. Time flies.
I know. JP, Kathy, and the crew was on a little earlier when I was Miss Texas.
Yes, and you even came in studio a couple of times, and you were in Irving with us at 6 a.m. in the morning.
I did. But I treasure those moments. And then as soon as I finished and gave up my crown to Morgana Wood in 2017, I returned to Baylor for my junior year. And so from there, I spent 2 more years at Baylor, was still able to graduate in a 4-year mark with a business management degree. And then I knew from there I was still craving more. And I really wanted to go in and impact more within education, as you probably remember from some of our previous interviews. And so from there, I actually went to UT, where I'll be graduating in a month now with my master's in higher education leadership. Oh,
that's awesome. And then you twirled at UT as well.
I did. I know it's a little bit weird, twirling at Baylor and twirling at UT. But both my parents went to UT, so
okay.
Really the Baylor Bears for winning that national championship, but absolutely loved my experience and my time at UT as well.
Well, good. Okay, now we're going to talk more about what you're going to do with your master's and all of this stuff. And the great thing about being able to go and achieve your educational goals. I mean, let's talk about how the Miss Texas pageant, at the end of the day, yes, you're a gorgeous woman. And Caroline is truly one of these women who's beautiful inside and out. She's got such a great heart and such a great soul. But at the end of the day, pageants aren't just about how people look and how you conduct yourself. This is for furthering your education. And so how did the Miss Texas pageant help you in furthering your education?
Yes. So the scholarship, first of all, was the primary reason that I ended up getting into the Miss Texas organization, and is something I will always be thankful for. So after my few years of competing, I walked away with about $30,000 in scholarships that went directly towards Baylor for education. And so again, that made my life so much easier. Probably my parents' lives a little bit easier as well.
Yes.
For that, and so that's a huge piece. like I had mentioned before, for all of the girls who are competing, and that's been a big goal of the Miss Texas organization since then, is to continually raise the bar for scholarships every single year. So we're always really thankful for that.
Well, and I think it is, again, it's so important to mention the education component. I was had the great pleasure and the great honor, the spring workshop, the spring seminar that just happened last Saturday. Were you there for part of that?
I was on Saturday morning.
Okay,
so
I'm trying to think, because I got there like at 8:45, but then I was in a judge's room, so I hate it that I missed you. I would have loved to have had a picture with you and Chandler and Susan Schuler. But one of the things that, and so I got to judge the presentation component, which is a new portion of judging for the spring workshop and seminar. And so many girls, talked about how they came from Title I schools, how they came from homes where they were, if not on some kind of subsidy from the government, or didn't get help from a church or a food bank, they were for sure food insecure. And they said how entering into a local Miss Texas pageant has changed their life. And these are girls who are now in college because of those scholarships, changing the dynamics of their family. You can't write that off.
No, I mean, it's truly incredible, especially for a lot of these girls who are coming full circle. Like I said, maybe that's where their roots are, and they're coming back and able to give back through the Texas Cares for Children, which allows Miss Texas to go into those Title I schools, be able to present, which otherwise probably would not have happened for hundreds of children.
Right. And that makes such a difference. Okay, on a personal note, do you have any kind of personal thing going on in your life that you're working on that's non-pageant related?
A few. Besides graduation in a month, I also was recently engaged to my 6-year boyfriend and now fiance. So we're getting married in December.
Yay! Oh, blessings to you. That's wonderful. Show that ring again. That's so exciting. So, okay, with COVID, I've got to ask, because I know we had Madison Fuller. Her wedding plans had to change during COVID. Okay, December, you're getting married. So does COVID impact that wedding ceremony, or how is that going to look compared to maybe what you had thought it would be when you were younger?
Yeah, more than anything, it's actually kind of been a backup from 2020 weddings that are now in 2021. So as far as vendors, even when we were looking for dresses at the beginning, they were like, you really need to get your orders in because COVID has definitely delayed the amount of time that we take to get it in.
Wow.
So it's really been that more than anything. We're really hoping that the majority of out-of-town family and stuff will still be able to come in for the wedding by the time it's December with the vaccine and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what our hopes are. But other than that, everything has been pretty full strong. And Ricardo, who is one of my local directors, is actually our wedding planner. So really happy to have him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because that's the Miss Texas community is such a family, and you just see people helping each other in different walks of life for years to come. And I think that's awesome. So what do you plan on doing with your degree? What do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see yourself? And what, also, how can people follow you on social media?
Yes, of course. Well, one of the things that I initially started was I founded a small business called Twirl You, which is a collection of that supports twirlers through the transition process from high school to college if they're wanting to twirl at a collegiate level. I really found that there was a gap in information and knowledge as far as that goes. And so I was like, you know what? I've done this twice now. I really want to be the one that can help them achieve their dream of twirling in college, because for so many, that is the ultimate goal, is to be able to twirl on the college field. And so that has been amazing. Like I said, it's kind of just picking up. So that's been really successful, and I really hope to continue doing that and keeping baton twirling in my life. I also serve on the production team with the Miss Texas organization, so still getting to see everybody that allows me to continue my relationships with Susan and Jackie and the whole Miss Texas board and all the girls. And so that's something I'm really, really thankful for as well. And then gosh, I'm trying to think what else. As far as like career goals, I'm figuring that out right now. I actually had a job interview yesterday. And so just continuing that job interview process. Again, ultimately, it's amazing how my twirling goals and my personal goals and career goals really match up.
Which is nice,
Again, very, very passionate about that transition from high school to college. And so ultimately, long term, I would love to see myself as a college counselor to help support students who want to go to college.
Good for you.
So, yeah.
Well, good for you. That's exciting. Well, we're just so excited for all the great things going on in your life. Wait, did you say yet how people can follow you?
Oh, yes. So you can follow my personal on Instagram at Carruthers_Caroline. And then if you're interested more in Twirl U, you can also follow Twirl U on Instagram at Twirl_U.
Love it. Well, okay. So, goodness gracious. I guess you can't show us a picture of the dress. Doggone it. I'm trying to think of anything from the wedding related that we could reveal here on the show, but we can't do that right now.
Okay, well, it's almost a New Year's wedding. So our colors are going to be black, gold, and silver. So that's kind of the theme that we're going with.
Very fun. And now, did you meet your fiance? Did y'all meet at Baylor?
We did. So we actually met a week before school started. And I was like, oh, he's cute. And then we didn't talk for a really long time. And then reconnected through a calculus course, actually. And so we're like, hey, do you want to get together to study for this famous calculus final that was insanely hard, and I still haven't forgiven. And so we got together through that. And for the longest time, I just thought we hung out more and more and we talked. He was also a military brat, so we really had that connection. But I was like, oh, he's just going to be that really good guy friend. You know, that's just every girl needs a solid guy friend they can tell everything to.
Yep.
Didn't work out because 6 months later he did ask me to be his girlfriend, and then the rest.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome. I love seeing a love story like that come together. That's so exciting. Well, we're very, very happy to have had you back on today, and just, you will always have such a special place in mine and JP's heart, because we were so excited when we got that chance to interview you, and it just started us off on this amazing relationship with the Miss Texas pageant, and we're just so appreciative and can't think of a better Miss Texas to have started it with than you, Caroline.
Well, Kathy, y'all are so sweet. Like I said, y'all will always hold a special place in my heart. Had so much fun back in the day in the studio. Hopefully you can get back to that with future Miss Texases.
Yes.
But again, I'm really thankful for your support.
It was so funny, because when I saw last Saturday, when I saw Chandler in person and Susan in person, that was my comment. I can't believe I'm getting to see you in person again in real life, kind of a thing. And I do hope, and I think it's a good sign that we're holding the Miss Texas competition this year. I think that's real progress. And I noticed everybody was very respectful of hotel rules with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pre-invite you. I don't know which day we're going to be broadcasting, but we are going to broadcast our podcast from the Miss Texas competition sometime during pageant week. So we would love to have you come with us. We won't be in studio, but be remote with us at the actual podcast table and talk to you then. Can I get you to commit ahead of time?
Not to put you on the spot.
No pressure.
Be there.
I love it. Well, Caroline, you just continue to have a blessed life. We just, again, think the world of you and are so proud of you, and just keep up the great work, and blessings to you and your fiance. And we'll see you at the Miss Texas competition in June.
Thank you so much, JP, Kathy, and the crew. Thank y'all so much for having me. Really thankful. And y'all have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks, Caroline.
Bye.
All right. She's wonderful. And she does, it's one of those things you just, it started us off on such a great relationship with the pageant, and just so great to see what they call forever Miss Texas winners, just doing well and taking that scholarship money and putting it to good use. I know you're like me when you have college age kids or kids who are about to be in college, you're like, oh, and you $30,000. You're like, oh yes, that would be lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. My oldest is finishing her junior year right now, so about to start the
you start thinking exactly. Yeah, my son, who he's the same age as your daughter, and he's into music and everything, and so he's like, what about Berkeley? And I'm thinking, did you win the lottery? And I was unaware.
That's on McKenna's list too.
Okay,
she comes to me, she's like, well, I've got it narrowed down to 4, and she's like, I think 2 of them are sort of my realistic options, and then 2 are kind of my pie in the sky. Yeah. And she's like, so. She's like, you'll be happy. Harding is on the list because that's where Kim and I met.
Yes.
That's where we went.
Yeah.
Like, and my other one is Oklahoma City University because they have a really strong musical theater department. It's where Kristen Chenoweth went and all of this.
Oh, yes.
And she's, and then my other 2 are sort of maybe the pie in the sky, but I'll audition and see what happens. And it's like the American Music and Dance Academy, which only has campuses in New York and LA.
Yes.
And the Berklee School of Music in Boston.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. Go right ahead.
If you make it, we'll figure out a way.
We'll figure out a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Anyways, just always so great to see former Miss Texas, and I'm so glad they're having the Miss Texas competition again this year. It's it's just one of those things again, like with sports and concerts. When hopefully now you play in a band. Have you all been able to play anywhere live lately?
Not yet. We're looking at options. For the next, we typically try to book at least like a month out. So we're looking at, there's more stuff opening up, but there's also sort of pent up demand, so there's lots of people trying to play in lots of places. And some of the places, that, some places just didn't reopen after COVID, so there's actually, probably fewer venues. So we're looking at some potential stuff for this summer. So.
Right. Yeah. And it's so exciting again to get back to normal. Whatever normal is, but those concerts are, I'm like you. I love concerts. Would rather go to a good concert than a mini vacation. To me, it is a mini vacation. I
had tickets last summer. The Black Crowes got back together, and they were going to tour because it was like the 20th or 30th anniversary of Shake Your Money Maker, that album that came out.
Yep.
And I had tickets, and of course, show got canceled. I had tickets to see Rolling Stones at the Cotton Bowl last summer. Show got canceled. So I didn't need another reason to hate the year 2020, but that was 2 really big ones for me.
You're like, okay, yeah. But those are on the top 10 reasons I hate 2020.
But the Crows are actually their show from last year got rescheduled.
Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, very cool. Where are they going to play?
That pavilion at Fair Park, the thing that changes names like every 6 months.
Starplex, Dos Equis, Coca-Cola,
whatever
it is now.
That's where they're going to be. Yeah.
Which I love concerts out there. I love getting on the lawn. That's so great. My daughter and I, it was probably about 6 months prior to COVID, saw Heart and Joan Jett. And it was just, Joan Jett opened up for Heart, and I'm like, can't get any better than that. So it was awesome.
I saw the Zach Brown band play there.
Oh yeah,
it was a great band.
Yep.
Just top to bottom, like ridiculously good musicians.
Yep.
And I actually took my girls to that. It was like their first,
very cool.
It was like their first, like real concert or whatever. And they were, little, and they just ate it up. And before that, I saw Coldplay out there.
Oh my gosh!
Really cool.
You've seen Coldplay? Oh,
they were sort of right on the cusp of starting to do like big stadium shows.
Yep.
So it was. I remember I was like, that's kind of odd they're playing there.
Because
that's a small,
relatively small venue. Yeah, when you're talking like American Airlines or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I just bought general admission. Sat out on the lawn, and fantastic show.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
They actually built a little riser, not much bigger than this whole desk setup, and put it out on the lawn. And about halfway through the show, came down off the stage,
walked
out into the crowd and did
my brother was at that concert.
Acoustic songs,
and my brother's like, literally, he's like, I could touch him.
I walked right up to him.
Yeah,
yeah, it was like.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's
and
awesome.
They did an acoustic version of Billie Jean because it was right after Michael Jackson had just died.
Yeah. Oh, was it unreal?
Yeah, the place went crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Oh, I bet so. Oh, I would love, Coldplay's on my list of bands that I would love to see sometime.
I really like their first 2 or 3 albums more than I like their later stuff.
I like their first stuff too, yeah.
as far as like the actual show that gets put on, it's
just amazing.
Unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just all the stuff that comes with a Coldplay, all the, the lights and everything
else.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, it is a spectacle to see.
That's awesome.
Even if you might prefer maybe just the early stuff. And so it's maybe still, every third or fourth song you're really excited.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. Concerts, that's kind of how it is. Like if it's a band that you liked back in the day, but they're still playing new stuff and trying to push new stuff, that's funny. Like, you're right. You're kind of sitting down going, yeah, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden you're standing up going, yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so we're going to go from something happy talk. And again, Lathan is not in his First Liberty hat right now. He's in his just the world according to Lathan Watts hat.
Yeah.
Just nothing, disclaimer there. We're going to go from happy talk, which is concert talk for you and I. I want to know your thoughts, knowing how important the judicial system is, on Maxine Waters and her comments. And basically, do you feel, as somebody who, you're a lawyer, you've obviously your entire professional career been involved in the legal system in one way, shape, or form. I feel like you've got three branches of government. You've got the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Do you feel like with her comments before the jury came down with their decision of, all three guilty on all three charges, I don't think anybody was surprised by that. I mean, I assumed for sure 2 out of 3, probably 3 out of 3, because I did watch the trial on and off. Do you feel like she was dismissive of one of the branches of government, or at least disrespectful in her comments?
At the very least. Yeah, I mean, they tried to, I mean, the D's in Congress, right at the end of the Trump administration, tried to impeach him again based on what he said, at a speech on January 6th.
When he said, keep up the good fight.
And go and peacefully, make your voices heard. And she's out there saying, you need to get more confrontational. I mean, yeah.
And if the right verdict doesn't come down, we need to be prepared, to get out in force and use force and stuff. And I'm like, is that a threat, or is that trying to sway?
It easily could have been interpreted as a threat to the jury, and
they weren't sequestered, which is another thing. What? Okay, out of any group of jurors, and I understand, there are people who are upset because they didn't move the venue, and I'm like, where were you going to move the venue where somebody didn't know about this? It had not seen the video of this cop's knee on the neck of George Floyd. I mean, where were you going to go?
You're not going to find a place where people haven't heard of it, but I still think, for exactly the reason that we're talking about, that a change of venue to take the trial out of Minneapolis
and put it, do you have to go to a contiguous county, or how far can you go?
I'd have to go back and look.
Okay, yeah.
I thought a change of venue would have been helpful. Like you said, you're not going to find 12 people who haven't heard about what went on, but taking that right out, out of downtown Minneapolis, where all of these, riots have happened already.
Right.
I think could have maybe
helped a little bit. I felt bad for the jurors. Like, there are a lot of people who ended up, they've kind of interviewed some of the people who had been potential jurors, and they did not want to do it. They were fearful for their life and their home and their family, and I don't blame them.
I can't believe they weren't sequestered.
Yeah. Okay, so help me as an attorney. Like, if there was ever a case where that jury should be sequestered, was that not it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you think for their own safety.
For their safety, for the outside influence on the deliberations.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe they weren't sequestered. And the judge in the case actually said, speaking of Maxine Waters, because Chauvin's attorney moved for a mistrial.
Yes.
And said that this is, this could impact the jury's deliberations, and it could be perceived as a threat, as we give us the decision we want or else. Paraphrasing, I'm sure he didn't say it that way.
Right.
But the judge, although he didn't grant his motion for a mistrial, even the judge said, I realize what Maxine Waters said, you might get a mistrial on appeal.
And he specifically, I was watching that live, and he said, and I'll probably misquote him, but he said something along the lines of, Maxine Waters just gave you a reason to appeal.
Yeah.
And so then I think, okay, well, so you've got, the majority of people in the country are fine with the verdict. And like I said, nobody was nobody was surprised. It wasn't like, oh, breaking news. It was kind of like, okay, that's what we figured. But then if this were to go, and how would that work? So if this went to appeal and they said, yes, that's enough to overturn, could they overturn, or would they have a new trial? Or
probably what could
they do?
I mean, he's going to appeal.
I'm sure.
No doubt. But now what I suspect his attorney might appeal is say the judge should have granted a mistrial. He should have granted my motion for a mistrial based on what she said. And if the appeals court agrees with him, then that would basically result in a mistrial, and he would just get a new trial. It wouldn't be like, oh, you're free to go.
No. But there would be a new trial, which whenever a new trial, a new jury, maybe new presentations by the defense, then could Maxine Waters actually lead to this man possibly walking next time? I don't think he will, but again, technically, could that happen?
Well, technically, yeah. I mean, if you got a new trial.
So how do you like that, Maxine?
Right, exactly.
I mean, way to go.
If you got a new trial and they acquitted him on all charges, then he would be free to go. And God help everybody who lives within 5 miles of downtown Minneapolis if that happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think she kind of set everybody up for potentially more danger.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it just how irresponsible is she? Why didn't she let, I look at it and I think, okay, even like Charles Manson and Ted Bundy, they had due process.
Absolutely.
Even if somebody's going into court and you're like, yep, they're a serial killer, or yep, they did this, or whatever the case may be. One of the great things about our country is that we have due process, and we have that ability, to be, in a judge in a court of your peers. And we have that process in place. A lot of countries don't have a process like this in place. So that's another one of the things that's so great about our country. Why do we have to feel like, as outside forces, that our opinions are so important that we need to overshadow what's happening with due process in a court?
Right, and that's why, I mean, the trial by jury, especially, that's why the sanctity of the jury is as important as it is. That's why there's all of these, all of these things that are put in place to not influence that jury, because the jury is maybe the most democratic institution in all of American government.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point.
And that's why we protect the sanctity of the jury and their deliberations, and they are the ones who decide. The judge doesn't decide if you're guilty or not.
Right.
The jury of your peers decides.
Absolutely.
That. Judge will then guide the jury in the sentencing process and pronounce the sentence, but it is the people that you live amongst who make that decision. It is not a government official who is a judge and jury.
Right.
That's why they're separate. I mean, it is.
And thank goodness that we have that. And so for anybody to dismiss that or try to overshadow it, I think is extremely irresponsible.
Or to influence it or anything.
Yes.
That's why again, that's why I say that the jury is so sanctified.
Yeah.
It was so important, even if you read the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Jefferson, everybody knows the preamble, all the good stuff.
Right.
And then you get into all his list of grievances against King George.
Yes.
He lists right after taxation without representation, people not receiving a fair trial by jury.
Right.
I mean, it's
that
huge.
Important. It was that important that
we fought a war over it.
Yes.
We are a country. That's one of the reasons we're our own country.
Right. It's because of how very important that is. Yeah. I just, I'd like to say I was blown away. I was outraged. I just thought, my goodness, how can you be? And that judge, he could have declared a mistrial. Mm-hmm. He was so hopping mad. I've got my speculations on why he didn't call a mistrial, but that would be all those would be speculations. But I was floored. I'm like, wait a second. Here it is. We're everything's coming to an end. You've got a jury that is 12 people, black, white, male, female. I think the age was anywhere from 20 to 60, which I can't even imagine, like being a 20-year-old sitting. I can't imagine being a 60-year-old and sitting in on that trial. That's just unreal. But yeah, I'm shaking my head. I'm thinking we've got 3 branches of government for a reason. And God bless the Founding Fathers. And we talk about this every time you're in. It seems like so brilliant and so forward thinking and so protective of the things that we should cherish today for what makes America America. And then you've got somebody who swears an oath to uphold the Constitution, and she didn't. And this is the second time she's told people, go after folks. Remember a few years ago when Sarah Huckabee Sanders was still the press secretary in President Trump's White House, she provoked, and even our own Senator Ted Cruz, Texas United States Senator Ted Cruz and his wife, they got screamed at and had to leave with security kind of protecting them, leave a restaurant. And she was telling people, form a crowd, be loud, scare them, who cares? And I'm like, how can you be a congressman and be okay with threatening free people?
Yeah, and it's like you said. I mean, we have the three branches of government, for a reason. Do you not have enough to do as a legislator? You got to go interfere in the judicial system.
Take care of the homeless. We've got military veterans who are living on the streets. Take care of those, and then come back and gripe.
To say nothing of the fact that you're a congresswoman from California.
Yeah, I know. It's not even her own district or state. Yeah. I didn't get that. I just didn't get that. Well, yeah, you're shaking your head too, and so you can see no reason why the jury wouldn't have been like, if you were the judge in that case, you would have sequestered that jury.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm still dumbfounded by that. I can't wait till his book comes out and he talks about why he didn't sequester them.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're looking at that going, that person's going to write a book. That person's going to write a book. That person's going to write a book. Well, something we should be writing a book about. And I was so glad when I sent this story to you, you're like, okay, very, very cool. SpaceX.
Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you watched the last launch. Like, when was that, a few months back?
I think I saw it.
Yeah, it was. I was just on the edge of my seat, just going, I can't believe this is so cool. So SpaceX, I'm trying to say Venture X and SpaceX at the same time. Venture X is where we're broadcasting live from Venture X Studios in Frisco. But SpaceX launches NASA crew for mission to ISS on reused rocket after delay. SpaceX launched 4 astronauts toward orbit Friday using, and this is so crazy, a recycled rocket capsule. I love recycling. My brother was born on Earth Day. Both my kids were always real big into, recycle, reduce, reuse, and all this stuff, which is all good. Save the Earth. It's all good. I like the environment. But I'm thinking if I'm going out of the orbit, I'm thinking I want to be in something that's new. But this is, they used recycled rocket capsule, the third crew flight in less than a year for Elon Musk's rapidly expanding company. A team of 4 astronauts lifted off aboard the SpaceX capsule at about 5:49 a.m. Eastern Time from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The crew will remain on the International Space Station for a 6-month mission. That's such a trip. I couldn't be more proud of the commercial crew program and the SpaceX team and the NASA team and what they've been able to enable reliable, safe, effective transportation to and from a station. Acting NASA Administrator Steve Jurczyk, I'm not sure how you say his name, so I apologize if I'm butchering that, said at a press conference earlier this week. The mission marks SpaceX's 3rd crewed flight in partnership with NASA following its previous launch, Crew 1 and Demo 2 missions. The launch will also mark the first time that SpaceX reuses a rocket and a capsule for a mission. So I guess it's one of those things, they felt like it was safe enough for the first time, so let's reuse it for this time. I'm hoping that works out well, because they're at the space station for 6 months. So thoughts on that and how cool it is to be.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm a space program fan.
Yeah, that's just such good stuff.
My youngest is absolutely obsessed with the space program.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'm sort of partially worried she's going to end up on like the first manned mission to Mars. I'll never see her again.
She's that age.
But I love it. I love the partnership between NASA and SpaceX. So government sector and private sector, that's it's working. And public-private partnerships can work.
Yeah.
And this one seems to be.
And that's awesome because there's so many times, I know when I was on commissioner's court, and you probably, when you were on city council, there's a lot of times, well, not a lot, there's a number of times that opportunities for the public-private partnership comes up, and that's the most glorious thing in the world when it works.
Absolutely.
Because you get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
I mean, you really do. And here for the space program, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool limited government.
Yes.
Get rid of as much government as you can.
Amen.
That's
Deliver the mail.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pave the streets, keep the cops paid, and leave me alone.
Yeah.
But the space program, even all the way back. I mean, I'm a Cold War kid. Ronald Reaganite baby. It's just one of those things that it typifies sort of the best in what we like to believe that we are as Americans.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, Reagan talked about it all the time. Like we are explorers. We are descendant from explorers.
Right.
And this is the next frontier of exploration, and we should be leading it. This is who we are.
Yeah,
this
why
is what
wouldn't
we do.
Americans be the ones leading it? And it's such, to me, anytime I read about something like this or go and watch it or whatever the case may be, it just, you get hope. It's like hope and pride at its finest all combined.
Yeah, and all the things that came out of, like all the science that had to be developed. If you enjoy your personal computer, thank the space program.
Yeah.
If you like having basically a computer in your pocket,
In your hand, yeah.
Yeah, that's
thank the space program. Yeah.
It traces all the way back to when the
That's
computers that they
such
were
a good
using,
point.
wouldn't fit in this room. The
Yeah.
computers that they were in, they were doing. You got NASA engineers doing way
yeah.
complicated math on
yeah.
pencil and paper.
Yeah.
Figuring out telemetry and levels of
like
math that I can't even pronounce.
Yeah, stuff that, like, I'm sitting here for basic math having to use my calculator app, especially the older I
Yeah,
get,
I
the
just
more
asked
I
my
rely
daughter.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Or my wife, the math teacher.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, and your wife is a math teacher. And speaking of your wife, I'm going to put you on the spot here for the end of the show. I've got a birthday shout out, and then I'm going to put you on the spot for the end of the show. Mother's Day's coming up. I mean, like, it's just around the corner. So dads, husbands, children, start thinking about Mother's Day gifts. So I'm going to have y'all thought about Mother's Day and all that kind of stuff? But I'll give you a few minutes while I'm doing a birthday shout out.
All right.
Wanted to give a shout out to my brother. His birthday was yesterday. Like I said, he's an Earth Day baby. Kelly Reverb, who has a show, This Pink Cloud. My brother is getting close to, he's over 9 months, almost 10 months sober. Just so proud of him, and is able with this show, This Pink Cloud, which comes on every Friday from 10:30 to 11:30 on the JP Broadcasting Network, has been able to help a lot of folks. So I love you, Kelly. I'm super proud of you, and I'll see you in studio here in a little while. So happy birthday to my brother. Okay, Mother's Day. So have you and the girls talked about what you're going to do for your lovely wife?
Not really.
Do y'all have something normal y'all do? And were y'all able to do, what did y'all do for Mother's Day last year? Because last year Mother's Day looked very different because we were right in the beginning throes of COVID.
Yeah, I think we might have figured out we might have been able to go out to eat back then. I don't remember. But Kim and I sort of have this agreement, like, I'm not your father. I don't expect you to do something for me on Father's Day. You're not my mother.
Yeah.
You don't expect me to do it. Now, when the girls were
little, yeah.
Of course, I helped them do stuff, for her for Mother's Day. So, no, they're old enough to take care of that themselves now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on them. If they want my help,
then there you go.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that. A few years back, guys, and two things that are really funny when you're talking about. Okay, so yes, you try to teach your kids. Yeah, you show your mom respect, or you show your dad respect on that day. Blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. You help them do gifts when they're little. I'll never forget Michael. My husband took CJ, and it was like, he was like, Mother's Day's on Sunday. Did you want to do anything? And I think CJ was like Saturday. He's like, yeah, can I go get a card? And so Michael has this great picture. It says, "He who hesitates last loses," or something, or whatever. It was some funny caption he put on this picture. And it was CJ with basically like 3 cards left out of all the Mother's Day cards, And then the funny thing is, it wasn't last year. I think it was year before last. Because Emily's, she'll get me like some perfume or some kind of fun makeup or something like that ever since she started earning her own money. and I kind of wonder if maybe girls are in tune with that with their mom more than boys are. I don't know. You just have girls. I've got one of each. All I've got is my experience. I know Emily has consistently given me something on Mother's Day. CJ, a couple of years ago, Michael took him and he's like, yeah, I need to get a card for Mom. He's like, okay, got that card. I still haven't seen that card. And Michael's like, on Mother's Day, he's like, did you get a card from CJ? And I'm like, no, but and he goes, he has one. It's on his desk. It just needs to be signed and put in the envelope, and I'm like, maybe I'm going to get that in 5 years. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it this year. I don't know.
I'm laughing because I can sympathize. I'm terrible at that sort of thing. Usually like around the first of the month, Kim will come to me with a stack of birthday cards.
Yep.
And just say, sign these.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And like she's already filled it in. Like she's already put the
with
comma.
Love, comma. And all
she's already put the comma
with
her name and the girl's name. She's like, just sign in front of the comma.
I love it.
Half the time I don't even know who they're going to.
I love it. Well, okay, so they've got, I found this, and I thought, okay, the top 4 Mother's Day gifts. And, I'm one of those, and I get this from my dad, and the older I get, the more I'm like this. When somebody's like, well, what do you want for Mother's Day? Or what do you want for your birthday? Or I just want a kind word and a smile. And my dad has said that to me for decades now. And it's so funny how I reached a point, I was like, you know what, Dad, I get it. That's really, so, if the kids think of something on their own, great. Last year for the pandemic, now every year we usually take my mom out and we do tea at her favorite tea room in Dallas. And it's really, have a nice time with little sandwiches and tea and all this kind of fun stuff. But last year we weren't able to do that. So we did a drive-by and the kids made big posters for my mom, dropped those off at a distance and all that kind of good stuff. I think we had a picture where it's like says Happy Mother's Day, and everybody, both my kids are on either end and my mom's in the middle. Everybody's 6 feet apart because we didn't know then, and we were just trying to be so careful. And with my mom being a cancer survivor, we're like, we don't want to mess around. So then the kids came back to the house with me, and I was like, okay, we're going to watch a movie that I choose. And luckily, it was not torturific for them. Well, maybe it was. My daughter liked it. I watched Valley Girl was one of my favorite movies back in the day. As you can imagine, I graduated from high school in '85, so I lived and breathed Valley Girl and all that whole scene. Oh my gosh, I said like before everything. That's why I still say like before a lot of things, even in my 50s. But old habits are hard to break. But we watched Valley Girl, the musical, the remake and the musical. Greatness, all songs from the 80s. Go-Go's and everything. It was just greatness, and it was so much fun because it was different, but it was so fun. And so we're going to take my mom to the tea room this year, but then going back to the house, and I don't know if I'm going to pick Grease or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or Chicago. We'll see. We'll see what I pick this year to watch. But, it spawned a new tradition. And so, over the next couple of weeks, we'd love to hear from the crew. What are you doing for your mom for Mother's Day? What do you have going on? Is there something special you're doing? Are you doing things different than you did it last year? And then I looked up the 4 most popular, and this is out of Good Housekeeping magazine. So number 1, and this does look kind of good, it's a Blissy silk pillowcase. And so it's this great hypoallergenic, antibacterial, anti-aging, anti-friction. I guess they're saying pillowcases can make your face be in a weird position all night, and you get older, you get creases or whatever. But I'm like, okay, I can see that. So anyway, so a Blissy silk pillowcase, and it looks wonderful. And then they've also got the second one they have is the Blissy sleep masks. I wonder who sponsored this. But and they say these are because of the properties of silk. It's supposed to help your sleep quality, reduce insomnia, and it's a natural anti-aging property. Also, this mask can help you from eyelash loss and dry eyes while you sleep. So I was like, okay, that sounds great. And then another one, and you could do a whole gift basket of these for your mom. The silk scrunchies, and again, they're saying the same thing. If I pull my hair back at night, if not, I look like a lion when I wake up. So they're saying that pull it back with one of these silk scrunchies, and it doesn't pull hair out. It doesn't leave a crease, because a lot of times, like my hair is in a ponytail holder today, I will take it out. There will be a crease until I wash and blow dry my hair again. So you can do these Blissy silk scrunchies. And of course, they've got a little the more of these you get, the cuter the box gets, by the way. So, because it's got the little sections and everything. And then the other one, well, shoot, where was the fourth one? Well, doggone it. Oh, here it is. Oh, and this is what I was talking about. So you have the whole thing you can buy together. So you can do all three of those together, color coordinated. And, I'm sitting here thinking, if you're a mom, and usually moms, we're worn out. And I don't care when your kids are little, you're worn out because they don't sleep through the night. When they're toddlers, each phase in your kid's life, you worry. When they're teenagers, you're like, oh, please don't sneak out. It's all these, and then when they go off to school and they go and move off on their own, kind of being a mom, as I've always said, it's like, your heart is outside of your body and you're always trying to catch it. That's just how I've always likened motherhood to, because and I don't care what age your kids get to be, and I know this from talking to my mom, you always worry.
You never stop being a parent.
Yeah, you just don't. So anyway, so that's kind of fun. I hint, not that either one of my kids are watching this show. They're like, okay, Mom, good luck with that. That would be kind of a fun little gift thing. Might want to send this link on over to your daughters.
Yeah.
I don't know what the price tag is. We'll find that out next week. So, Lathan, thank you so much for being on the show. And, it looks like there's a possibility that we're going to be seeing Lathan more on the network. So we're real excited about that. Always love having you in. You're so much fun to talk to and such a wealth of knowledge and information, and always chill about it. I love that. That's good. Yeah. That's good stuff. All right, everybody have a blessed week. We will see you on Monday. Dr. Clothier will be talking about vaccination updates. Is Johnson & Johnson going to be back on the market? Do you need a third shot for Pfizer? And everything that changes between now and Monday, which will be 9 things.
Exactly.
All right, love y'all. Have a great one.